Part 12. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depeng. Chapter 112. When Chen Ronghuo saw the scene in the distance, his eyebrows immediately stood up. If he hadn't identified Zhou Yuanhua's attributes in advance, Shamao might have been in trouble this time. He looked at Zhou Yuanhua, who stretched out his bone claws and grabbed the fat cat. Without hesitation, he directly activated the sealing ability of the ancient book and sealed it towards Zhou Yuanhua. His current cultivation level is only at the peak of the first level. Even if he uses up all his soul power, it is impossible to seal Zhou Yuanhua's too much power. So this time, he used the energy he had accumulated through ancient books this month. In 1 month, including the energy saved before, the ancient book has accumulated more than 400 points of energy. Chen Ronghuo calculated that 3 or 4 points of energy can seal most of the punch of a first-level peak cultivator, and 30 or 40 points of energy can seal most of the punch of a second-level early cultivator. But for a second-level cultivator, the improvement in strength with each small level improvement is very huge. With Zhou Yuanhua's strength, Chen Ronghuo would have to consume at least 150 points of energy from the ancient book if he wanted to seal his claw power. Of course, such a large consumption is also related to the fact that Zhou Yuanhua's source of power is more advanced than that of ordinary cultivators. Zhou Yuanhua's eyes were dark red, and a cruel look flashed through them. Chen Ronghuo was too mysterious. He was not sure of taking down Chen Ronghuo, but he could pull out Chen Ronghuo's minions first. Just like the method Chen Ronghuo used on him before. Before, Chen Ronghuo secretly removed 2 of his subordinates, Suan and Li Zhen, and then arranged Huang Taizheng and Ho San to his side. Now he also needs to get rid of the fat cat first. But just when Zhou Yuan's bone-like palm was about to press on Shamao's head, he suddenly felt that the power in his hand disappeared quickly, as if it had been swallowed up by something. How could it be? A trace of panic flashed in his eyes, and he subconsciously thought of Chen Ronghuo. But he didn't know what methods Chen Ronghuo used. But no matter how many thoughts he had in his mind, it was too late. His hand fell on the fat cat's head, but it was light, as if it was scratching an itch. The fat cat's huge claws, which had enlarged, shone with a cold blue light, and with a pop, it cut through his clothes, and there was a huge wound on his chest. This wound, from top to bottom. He was almost cut open and his belly was broken. It was only because of his extremely strong physical fitness and layers of insect beetles under his clothes after his body had been transformed that the fat cat's claws could not completely pierce him. But after this blow, his body flew backwards with a bang. With a pop, bursts of dust rose up, and Zhou Yuanhua's body fell to the ground, struggling and twitching, with blood flowing everywhere. He tried his best to support the ground with his hands, but he couldn't stand up. When Zhou Yuanhua flew out, showing such a weak scene, Shamao and Huang Lin immediately stepped forward to kill Zhou Yuanhua completely. They didn't know what had just happened, and they didn't know why Zhou Yuanhua wanted to die and took a hard blow from Fat Mao, but the claw that hit Fat Mao didn't have any strength at all. But now is obviously the best time to beat up the drowned dog. Stop. But just when Shamao and Huang Lin were about to step forward, Chen Ronghuo raised his hand and stopped the 2 of them. He looked at Zhou Yuanhua, who was lying on the ground and pretending to be a fake, and secretly shook his head. Zhou Yuanhua's scheming could really be said to be very deep. In an instant, he could think of pretending to be seriously injured. Unfortunately, Zhou Yuanhua chose the wrong opponent. He has a book of omniscience, so Zhou Yuanhua's efforts to disguise himself in front of him will naturally be in vain. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the fat cat that was connected to his consciousness turned into an orange stream of light, turned into the size of its own body, and became an obedient big fat cat, and got into his arms. At the same time, Huang Lin seemed to have thought of something and returned to Chen Ronghuo, looking at Zhou Yuanhua warily. Ahem. Seeing this scene, Zhou Yuanhua coughed, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hand, and slowly stood up from the ground. As he stood up, everyone discovered that his body, which had just been severely injured, had completely recovered, and there was no trace of any injury anywhere on his body. How come Chen Ronghuo knows everything? However, although Zhou Yuanhua's recovery ability was frightening, more people looked at Chen Ronghuo. There is no doubt that the reason why Chen Ronghuo stopped Shamao and Huanglin just now was obviously because he had judged Zhou Yuanhua's injury in advance. At the same time, after Zhou Yuanhua stood up, he also looked at Chen Ronghuo. At this moment, he was not crazy, but completely calmed down. With an injury like this, you should be able to recover 4 times. How about you, do you want to try again and see if you can kill me within 4 times? Chen Ronghuo hugged Shamao and spoke with the same calm expression. After hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Zhou Yuanhua's pupils shrank again. Chen Ronghuo's words were almost exactly the same as his physical condition. He took a deep breath and said coldly, "What exactly do you want to do?" Chen Ronghuo smiled and said, "Angsha town belongs to you, Greenwater Bay town belongs to me, it's that simple. Since you have the ability to get rid of me, why don't you kill me?" Zhou Yuanhua's eyes flashed. He was testing whether Chen Ronghuo really had the ability to kill him, or did he have another purpose. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. "First, you are indeed difficult to kill. Second, with my ability, after killing you, I am not sure that I can monopolize such a large area." Zhou Yuanhua fell silent, judging in his heart whether Chen Ronghuo's words were true or false. In Lushwiven Town and Angsha Town, both are the edge areas of Beiwu Island. But the edge areas do not mean that no one covets them, so Zhou Yuanhua could not find any faults in Chen Ronghuo's words. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo's words were also very clear, that is, to leave him temporarily and let him follow him to resist those foreign enemies who covet them here. After a while, Zhou Ye's eyes swirled with black light, and he tentatively said, "Do you mean to form an alliance with me?" "Alliance," Chen Ronghuo smiled, "if you are willing, I really have something here." "Okay, I promise you." After getting Chen Ronghuo's response, Zhou Yuanhua's mind flashed. He naturally knew how strong the inheritance he accepted this time was. But he lacks time now. As long as he is given some time, he believes that he will soon be able to break through to the peak of the 2nd level, or even break through to become a 3rd-level warlock comparable to the Sky Warrior. By then, will Chen Ronghuo still be as mysterious as he is now in front of him? After the words fell, Zhou Yuanhua narrowed his eyes again and said, "But, if you want me to form an alliance with you, you must let me take my family and my men away." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. 1,000,000 copper coins per person, you can take your family away. But your men, sorry, from now on, they are all mine. He is short of people now, how could he allow Zhou Yuanhua to take away all the talents of Greenwater Bay? If Zhou Yuanhua had really been to Xiahe village before, and tracked along the way, and controlled the people of Xiahe village, there would be room for negotiation, but now, if he doesn't get more things from Zhou Yuanhua, he will be sorry for his arrangements. 1,000,000 copper coins per person? Zhou Yuanhua's eyes were filled with cold light. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, "I can give you 5,000,000, but I don't want my family, I just want 3 people. 3 people, which 3 people?" Chen Ronghuo was stunned. "Zhu Qiang, and Zhu Qiang's family." Zhou Yuanhua said coldly. "Zhu Qiang?" Chen Ronghuo was stunned. He had long seen that Zhu Qiang was very capable, but he didn't expect that Zhou Yuanhua would value Zhu Qiang so much. Even so much, Zhou Yuanhua would rather abandon his family and take Zhu Qiang away. You know, Zhou Yuanhua has only one offspring. He doesn't even want his own offspring? Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath and looked at Zhu Qiang. At this time, When Zhu Qiang heard that Zhou Yuanhua was willing to exchange his family for himself, his old face had flushed red. 4 chapters with 10,000 words are updated for subscription. There will be more in the evening, but it may be a little late, so you can read it tomorrow. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 113. Chapter 113 Wonderful Reversal, First Order Extra. Chapter 114 is high energy, please don't skip it at. Lord, I am not worthy of your kindness, please just take the young master back. Zhu Qiang looked at Zhou Yuanhua and bowed. Chen Ronghuo shook his head secretly when he heard Zhu Qiang's words. Zhou Yuanhua gave up his wife and son for Zhu Qiang, so it was normal for Zhu Qiang to be so moved. However, even if he forced Zhu Qiang to stay here, he would not be able to make her return. As for using her, he dared not do it. It can only be said that Zhou Yuanhua was too cruel and indeed shrewd. Thinking of this, he turned to Ho San and said, "Go and bring Lord Zhou's family and Lord Zhu's family here." Although Zhu Qiang was powerful, since he could no longer control her, why not give her to Zhou Yuanhua and exchange her for 5 million copper coins? He didn't believe that he would not be able to find a person comparable to Zhu Qiang in the future. As for Zhou Yuanhua's family, Zhou Yuanhua used this method to force Zhu Qiang to come, and he didn't believe that his family would treat Zhou Yuanhua normally after knowing it. Therefore, he didn't mind sending Zhou Yuanhua's family back without asking for a penny, which would make Zhou Yuanhua feel a little upset. A chaotic family is hard to be at peace. Isn't Zhou Yuanhua a scheming person? He wanted to see how Zhou Yuanhua would face his family in the future. After receiving the order, Ho San immediately turned around and left. Then, a few minutes later, he brought all of Zhou Yuanhua's relatives, including Zhu Qiang's wife and son. Father. Zhou Yuanhua's son was named Zhou Tong. He didn't look very old. When he saw Zhou Yuanhua covered in blood, he immediately shouted. Zhou Tong. Age, 15. Warrior Qualification 1, Sorcerer Qualification none. After identifying Zhou Tong's qualifications, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Zhou Tong's qualifications were too poor, probably inherited from Zhou Yuanhua. At the same time, Zhu Qiang's son Zhu Zishan and Zhu Qiang's wife also walked to Zhu Qiang's side. Zhu Zishan's age is about 5 or 6 years older than Zhou Tong. Chen Ronghuo habitually identified Zhu Zishan. Zhu Zishan, also known as Zhou Zishan, a first-stage late warrior. Age, 20. Warrior Qualification 2. Warlock Qualification none. His true identity is the son of Zhou Yuanhua. After identifying Zhu Zishan's age, Chen Ronghuo's expression suddenly became extremely wonderful. He never thought that things would turn around like this. Zhu Qiang's son, the real identity, is actually Zhou Yuanhua's son. At that moment, Chen Ronghuo finally knew why Zhou Yuanhua chose Zhu Qiang. Choosing Zhu Qiang is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. First, it can make Zhu Qiang more loyal, and second, it can take back his son with better qualifications. He glanced at Zhou Yuanhua and really didn't know what to say. What is a hero? It's hard to say for others, but Zhou Yuanhua can definitely be regarded as a hero. He schemed endlessly all the time, hiding his poisonous shadow for countless years, so that no one else could find out. He recruited Wu Ji as his subordinate and planted a nail under Han Bai. The prince became a civet cat, and cuckolded Zhu Qiang for 20 years, and made Zhu Qiang loyally serve him under the pillow wind of his wife. For such a person, Chen Ronghuo felt that if he didn't have the ancient book and decades of sharpening, he might not be his opponent. With such means, it's no wonder that Zhou Yuanhua can get to where he is today with ordinary qualifications. Whoosh! At this time, Zhou Yuanhua saw Ho San bringing people in, and without hesitation, he threw the bronze card with 5 million copper coins that he had obtained not long ago to Chen Ronghuo. After Chen Ronghuo identified that there was no problem with the bronze card, he nodded lightly, and then the fat cat snapped the card in his mouth. "I've already given you the money, can you let them go now?" After doing all this, Zhou Yuanhua looked at Chen Ronghuo and said, "Of course." Chen Ronghuo smiled, waved his hand, and asked Ho San to let everyone go. When Zhu Qiang and his family came to Zhou Yuanhua, Zhu Qiang immediately said to Zhu Zishan, "Zishan, remember, the Lord has been very kind to our family, and even your name was given by the Lord, hoping that our family can have successful descendants. So in the future, no matter what, you must not betray the Lord." "Father, don't worry, I will keep this in mind." Zhu Zishan's eyes flashed with a strange color, and he said solemnly. In the distance, Chen Ronghuo secretly shook his head when he heard the conversation between the two. Descendants are successful, Zhou Yuanhua hopes that his descendants will be successful, right? At this time, Zhou Yuanhua looked at Chen Ronghuo and said, "Since the matter here is over, I will take people back first. There is no eternal enemy in the world. I hope that after this time, we can get along with each other in a friendly manner and face the pressure from other territories together. That's exactly what I hope for." Chen Ronghuo smiled slightly. It is true that he did not kill Zhou Yuanhua now because he could not kill Zhou Yuanhua now, but it is also true that he let Zhou Yuanhua share the pressure with him. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Zhou Yuanhua immediately led the people around him and walked towards Angsha town. Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed, looking at Zhu Qiang who was following Zhou Yuanhua, with a strange smile on his face, and suddenly used the soul transmission technique to shrink the voice to a very small level, and transmitted it to Zhu Qiang's ears and said, "Master Zhu, I know a little about face reading. In my opinion, how come your son doesn't look like you, but rather looks a bit like Zhou Yuanhua? Of course, you can also treat this as my nonsense, which is to alienate the relationship between you, the monarch and the minister, so just ignore it." After Zhou Yuanhua, Zhu Qiang's face changed slightly after hearing Chen Ronghuo's voice transmission. After just a change, he immediately returned to normal. But there was still a knot in his heart. He would not easily believe Chen Ronghuo's words. But after meeting Chen Ronghuo several times, he had a deep impression of Chen Ronghuo. At this time, Chen Ronghuo said such words, "Is it really aimless?" He remained calm on the surface, but in his heart, he was really a little panicked. If Zhu Qiang is very capable and a smart person. But being smart doesn't mean you don't have weaknesses. Just like Zhou Yuanhua, he was also a smart man, but when he first fought with Chen Ronghuo found his weakness and messed up his mood. Chen Ronghuo sent a message to Zhu Qiang, but Zhou Yuanhua didn't know it at all. He looked at the familiar scenery, which was getting farther and farther away from him, and felt like a heavy stone was pressing on his heart. He just told Chen Ronghuo that they would strive for the two territories to get along in a friendly way in the future, but facing Chen Ronghuo who had taken his territory, how could he really get along with Chen Ronghuo in peace? At the same time, Chen Ronghuo looked at Zhu Qiang, whose steps were slightly slower, and the smile on his face suddenly became more intense. Before, he had no confidence in subduing Zhu Qiang, but now, he was almost certain that Zhu Qiang would find a way to contact him in the future. And this was equivalent to planting a hidden chess piece next to Zhou Yuanhua. A hidden chess piece that was enough to take Zhou Yuanhua's life. Get along with each other in a friendly way? How could two territories separated by dozens of miles really get along in a friendly way? Moreover, Zhou Yuanhua was the inheritor of the Earth disaster. Even if there was no conflict between the two in the future, this person he is almost the one he must kill. And by then, Zhu Qiang's role will be revealed. After a moment, when Zhou Yuanhua's back disappeared, Chen Ronghuo retracted his gaze, looked at the people around him, and slowly exhaled. After 2 months, he will finally have a piece of territory that belongs to him completely in this world. the subscription dropped too fast, it dropped by 600 in just 2 days, and it is still in the recommended position. Dopang will keep working hard to update and think about the plot. I sincerely ask everyone to help subscribe. Thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Dopang. Chapter 114. Mr. Huang, Huang Lin's wife, and Huang Xiaoshan's children are all behind a hillside a few miles away. Go pick them up. In addition, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui should be on their way to Xuanhuan town with the people of Xiaohe village. After you pick up Huang Xiaoshan, go pick them up. In the future, all the people in Xiaohe village will move to Xuanhuan town. After Zhou Yuanhu left, Chen Ronghuo spoke to Huang Taizheng. Yes, sir. When Huang Taizheng heard Chen Ronghuo say this, his face was full of excitement. At the same time, it was not until this time that he and Ho San beside him knew that Chen Ronghuo had already arranged Xiaohe village in a hurry. Before this, they all thought that the people in Xiaohe village were still staying at home. It was for this reason that their faces changed slightly when Zhou Yuanhua took Xiaohe village to threaten Chen Ronghuo. After Huang Taizheng left, Chen Ronghuo turned his eyes to Ho San and said, Ho San, you should immediately ask someone to find the stone carving master in the town to carve the Lord's statue for me. At the same time, you should also publicize the fact that I will soon become the new Lord of Greenwater Baytown. And issue a recruitment notice, stating that all those who think they have talents can come to the Lord's mansion to accept my assessment. Once you pass the assessment, you can help me manage the territory in the future. In addition, you should detain all the stubborn people in the town, but the town guards and everything else should be restored to operation as soon as possible. We are short of manpower now, so you can only do more work for those who are capable. Hearing this, Ho San immediately agreed. Don't worry, sir, I will complete the task as soon as possible. In fact, Ho San is not very good at handling these internal affairs. But for the time being, Chen Ronghuo is really short of people. Even if the people from Xiaohe village come at this time, it is the same. During this month, he taught the villagers in Xiaohe village every day, but he only let some people understand some principles, recognize some words, and be able to perform some simple calculations. He wanted them to help him manage Xuanhuan town, but he was not capable of doing so. After Ho San left with a few trusted men, Chen Ronghuo raised his head and glanced at the people in the nearby Xuanhuan town. After a little thought, he said in a deep voice, You have seen what happened just now. Your original lord will go to Angsha town and become the lord of Angsha town. And Xuanhuan town will become my territory from now on. I think no one of you should object anymore, right? Objection. After hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, those people looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Who dares to object to the 4 earth warriors under your command? If Zhou Yuanhua had not appeared, these people might still hold a glimmer of luck, but Zhou Yuanhua had just appeared. Moreover, after Zhou Yuanhua appeared, he was not only no match for Chen Ronghuo, but also took away Zhu Qiang and his family when he left. As a result, there were not many people in Xuanhuan town who were still loyal to Zhou Yuanhua. In the silence of everyone, Chen Ronghuo continued to speak. I am short of people now, talents who can help me manage the territory. From now on, if any one of you thinks you have such talent, you can come to me to sign up. As long as you pass my assessment, you can temporarily become a member of my staff. After you make contributions, I can also assign you a position. He was alone, and he had to practice and do many other things. It was impossible to be comprehensive. In particular, managing a territory is extremely energy-consuming. So he must recruit a large number of talents to allow Xuanhuan town to operate smoothly even without him. Ho San, Huang Lin, and others are not suitable for this. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo also has other arrangements for them. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, many people in the distance had their eyes slightly lit up. But some people's faces suddenly turned ugly. Lord! Suddenly, someone said loudly, I was originally the tax chief in charge of collecting taxes in Greenwater Baytown. In addition to me, there are other incumbents in Greenwater Baytown. Are they all going to be dismissed? Chen Ronghuo turned his head and saw that the person who spoke was a middle-aged man with a bald head. He said in a deep voice, all positions in Greenwater Baytown will be rearranged after I officially become the Lord. As I just said, any of you who want to get a position in the new Greenwater Baytown must sign up with me and pass my assessment. He knew that his actions would definitely cause chaos in Greenwater Baytown. But even if he didn't do this, what happened today would still cause chaos in Greenwater Baytown for a while. In this case, it is better to take this opportunity to destroy and then build. Change the blood of Greenwater Baytown and eliminate all the stubborn problems that existed in the town in the past. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, the bald middle-aged man's face suddenly became uglier. Lord, I want to sign up for your assessment, but I don't know how to do it. Just at this moment, someone shouted loudly. Chen Ronghuo looked at the man and smiled slightly. It's very simple. Anyone who wants to sign up just needs to line up and walk in front of me. He has the ancient book, and it is not easy to find a talent like Zhu Qiang. But it is not difficult to find some grassroots personnel from a group of people who can help him manage the territory. Just walk through it once. Can we tell if we are capable by just walking through it? Everyone was in a daze. But this matter is definitely a great opportunity for those who are ambitious and capable, but are not reused in the original Greenwater Baytown. After a moment of hesitation, the man who had called before slowly walked up. Lord, can you look at me? This is a young man in his 20s, with pale skin and a frail appearance. He is dressed in coarse cloth and is not very conspicuous. However, when he asked Chen Ronghuo, his eyes were bright and he did not dodge, showing some confidence. Xiaoruo, cultivation base is endless. Martial arts qualification 0. Water warlock qualification 2. Age 22. He was born with a weak body, but he was smart since childhood, loved reading, and had great ambitions. Because of his low strength and no way to be promoted, he could only work as a waiter in a restaurant in the original Greenwater Baytown. However, this experience has honed his ability to deal with others. At the same time, it also gave him a good understanding of the character of the big shots in Greenwater Baytown who frequented restaurants. After identifying Xiaoruo's attributes, Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the first person to come up was actually a talent. And it is the talent he needs most now. Thanks to Yuan Beiji for the 400 coin reward, and book friend Xuanhuan for the 100 coin reward landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 115. Okay. After a glance, Chen Ronghuo nodded and said, you go stand behind me first. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Xiaoruo was slightly stunned. After a moment of shock, he reacted and bowed to Chen Ronghuo and said, thank you, Lord. Chen Ronghuo was looking for talents to help him manage the territory. In this regard, Xiaoruo had some confidence. But his confidence was based on Chen Ronghuo asking him questions and then answering them himself. But he never thought that Chen Ronghuo would just take a look at him and accept him. After walking behind Chen Ronghuo, he touched his face, wondering if it was because his face was more in line with Chen Ronghuo's aesthetics. Otherwise, he really couldn't figure out how Chen Ronghuo judged that he was okay. No way, that person just now was Xiaoruo. I remember that he was a waiter at Zy Wenglu. He was weak and could barely hold a chicken. If even he could pass the test, then we can all pass it, right? We can all pass it? Our new lord wants talents who can help him manage the territory. It has nothing to do with whether he is physically strong or not. I think a guy like you will definitely fail after passing it. At this time, more and more people have gathered. After seeing that Xiaoruo passed the test, everyone talked about it. After Xiaoruo, another person gritted his teeth and stepped forward and said, "Lord, when I was studying in the town's school, I was always among the top 10. You can't, go down first." But before the man finished speaking, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. If he keeps a guy who has some money in his family and always cheats to get into the top 10 in every exam, he will not know what kind of trouble the town will be in the future. This scene surprised everyone. I don't know how Chen Ronghuo chooses people. Out of curiosity, everyone came forward and wanted to try to see if they could be chosen by Chen Ronghuo. "You are okay, come behind me first." "You can't." No matter who the person is or what he did before, when he came in front of Chen Ronghuo would make a judgment immediately after a glance. At the same time, when he was selecting the grassroots staff who would help him manage the town in the future, Ho San also found the stone carving master of the territory. Stone carving masters are almost standard equipment in every territory. The stone carving master of Lushwiven town is called Wang Quanqi. In addition to Wang Quanqi, Ho San also found a piece of white jade rock that was snow white and glowing. This kind of rock is not hard and has a certain toughness, which is just right for carving lord statues. To carve lord statues, you don't need something too hard. Because the essence of lord statues of the same level will change after being deified, and the hardness is the same. In front of Chen Ronghuo, the old-looking Wang Quanqi stared at him for a while, then started to work and carved a statue for him. Almost all stone carving masters are warriors, and Wang Quanqi is no exception. Coupled with the sharp carving knife and his years of practice, his craftsmanship is superb. In less than an hour, a lifelike statue of Chen Ronghuo was formed in his hands. At this time, Huang Taizheng, who went to pick up Huang Xiaoshan's children and the people of Xiahe village, had brought everyone to Lushwiven town. At the same time, in nearly an hour, Chen Ronghuo also picked out more than 50 people who were useful. With these more than 50 people, he will be able to relax in the future. He wants to become a lord, not to enjoy power, but for the power of faith, for resources, and to be able to enhance his strength faster. If he becomes a lord, he will spend a lot of time managing the territory every day and delay his practice, which will be putting the cart before the horse. "Lord, do you think it's okay?" When the lord statue was completely carved, Wang Quanqi bowed and asked Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo took a look and saw that the snow-white statue looked just like him. He nodded and said, "Well done, Mr. Wang, you've worked hard. I'll reward you after this matter is over." "You're too polite, Lord. This is what I should do." Wang Quanqi quickly clasped his fists and retreated. Then Chen Ronghuo looked at the statue again and asked Ho San to move it to the location where Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue was before. As for the remnants of Zhou Yuanhua's statue, they had already been cleaned up. Chen Ronghuo led everyone and walked slowly to the statue. He put one hand on the statue and turned to look at Huang Taizheng, Huang Lin, Ho San, Zhu Daipen, Li Haishui, and a group of villagers in Xiahe village who seemed to be in a dream. Then he turned his eyes and fell on the more than 50 staff members he had just accepted, including Xiaoruo, and the former Green Water Bay town residents who were standing outside and looking at this place. After scanning everyone, he took out the noble reward scroll again and activated it with the power of his soul. Suddenly, a vigorous and noble purple gold light rushed out of the scroll and landed on his white jade rock statue. As a large amount of purple gold light rushed into the white jade rock statue, the entire white jade rock statue suddenly had a few more inexplicable meanings. It seemed to come alive. At a glance, it had a sense of more dignity and majesty than before. At the same time, as the purple light from the noble reward scroll dissipated, Chen Ronghuo also felt some connection from the statue through the noble mark on his forehead. Deified statue, also known as Lord statue. The Lord statue can release the Lord's light, gathering and storing the power of faith of the people on behalf of the Lord. The release range of the Lord's light is 500 meters. That is, it can absorb the power of faith within a radius of 500 meters. To release it in a farther range, you need to sacrifice the power of faith to the gods, so as to obtain the divine power bestowed by the gods and further deify the Lord's statue. After the Lord's statue was formed, Chen Ronghuo suddenly felt that he seemed to be able to feel an invisible halo covering a radius of 500 meters through the Lord's statue, and through this halo, he felt a trace of strange power, which was gathering towards the Lord's statue. These strange powers are obviously the power of faith. But what made Chen Ronghuo shake his head was that the range of 500 meters was too small. Even Greenwater Bay Town cannot be covered. Thinking of this, he suddenly thought of the deification attribute he had found from the broken Xuanhuan Lord statue. I wonder if it will have any effect if he integrates that attribute into his own Lord statue? Of course, this matter is not urgent, we can wait and see. Thinking about it, he took a deep breath, took his hand away from the Lord statue, and then looked at the people below again, and said in a deep voice, "From today on, I am the new Lord of Greenwater Bay Town." Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 116. Long live the Lord. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Huang Taizheng, Huang Lin, Ho San, Zhu Deipen, and Li Haishui, who had been walking with Chen Ronghuo, immediately knelt down to Chen Ronghuo excitedly. When they followed Chen Ronghuo before, they had thought about this scene. But he never expected that in just 1 month, Chen Ronghuo would become the Lord. Moreover, he directly occupied Lushwiven town and became the Lord. Long live the Lord. As they knelt down, everyone in Xiahe village behind them, as well as everyone in the original Greenwater Bay town, also quickly knelt down. Although most lords will care for their people. But this does not mean that the Lord has no power at all. For a territory, the Lord is the sky. In his own territory, what the Lord says is the rule of heaven. An order is issued. Whoever you want to die must die. At this moment, no one wanted to appear special and ask Chen Ronghuo to write him down, so no one hesitated. Chen Ronghuo stood in front of the statue of his Lord, looked at the crowds of people kneeling in front of him, took a deep breath, waited for a while, and then used the power of his soul to violently vibrate the air and made a loud voice, "Everyone, get up." As soon as his voice came out, it immediately overwhelmed everyone. Then he glanced over, landed on Huang Lin, and directly rewarded. "Huang Lin, you are strong, capable, loyal, and have made great contributions many times. From now on, I will appoint you as the supervisor of Lushwiven town. You can choose 30 people in the town and take them as my subordinates to monitor Lushwiven. Both inside and outside Bay Town are directly under my command. Thank you, Lord, for the gift." Huang Lin just stood up and knelt down again when he heard Chen Ronghuo's award. Although he can only choose 30 subordinates, once he becomes the inspector of Lushwiven town and supervises the inside and outside of Lushwiven town, one can imagine his great power. After all, his position belongs directly to Chen Ronghuo. In addition, all the former members of the Lushwiven town patrol team have been reassigned to the Lushwiven town guards. Huang Taizheng, for the next period of time, you will be temporarily in charge of the guard team to protect Lushwiven town. When I find a suitable candidate in the future, I will hand over the position of commander of the escort team to someone else, and you will have other arrangements. In addition, the original Lushwiven town guard was abolished and renamed Lushwiven town First Army. Ho San, you were the deputy commander in Lushwiven town before, and you also made great achievements. Now I make you the commander of the First Army under my command. Zhu Deipen, Li Haishui, you two will be the captain of the guard team next to me from now on. But afterwards, I will help you select 10 people each and put them under your command. Chen Ronghuo issued orders one by one. As his orders were issued, the old men who had followed him showed excitement. 50 of you. Then Chen Ronghuo turned his head and focused on the 50 people he had recruited before. I will draw a map later and divide Lushwiven town into 50 areas. The next section time, there are 50 of you, each in charge of a part of the area. I will give each of you 10 days. After 10 days, I will promote and arrange positions based on the achievements of 50 of you in these 10 days. Lushwiven town is neither big nor small. There are about 10,000 townspeople in total. He asked 50 people to manage a part of the area, which is equivalent to letting one person take charge of 200 people. This time, after Chen Rong finished speaking, there was a slight uproar in the venue. The 50 people chosen by Chen Ronghuo are too childish. There are even restaurant waiters like Xiaoruo among them. At this time, he asked these 50 people to take charge of 200 people each. How many people would be convinced? Especially the original high-rises of Lushwiven town. As soon as Chen Ronghuo came, all their positions were abolished. How could they be satisfied? I don't know how much credit they had when they were in Lushwiven town, but over the years, almost all of them have made a lot of money from the town. Zhou Yuanhua didn't know about these things about them, but he turned a blind eye. Because when Zhou Yuanhua ran Lushwiven town, his main purpose was for money, not for the power of faith. It is true that the battle array weapons of the original escort team of Greenwater Bay were refined by Zhou Yuanhua himself, but the materials used to refine those battle weapons, as well as the waste materials, amounted to tens of millions of copper coins. So much. How did Zhou Yuanhua obtain the copper coins? Didn't they plunder the people's wealth and anoint them, and then under Zhou Yuanhua's hint, they dedicated it to Zhou Yuanhua for various reasons? From beginning to end, Zhou Yuanhua followed a side path instead of the right path. Now that Zhou Yuanhua is gone, once they lose power and power again, how will the townspeople of Lushwiven town who were plundered by them in the past treat them? Thinking this, a group of dozens of people looked at each other and immediately walked out of the crowd. The bald middle-aged man who asked Chen Ronghuo before said in a deep voice, "Lord, we are all current employees of Greenwater Bay town. We have been working in Lushwiven town for many years and are very familiar with Lushwiven town. We believe that our abilities are definitely no worse than the 50 people you just selected. Therefore, we hope that the Lord can think carefully and never think that since we are Zhou Yuanhua's subordinates, he will abandon us." Really? Seeing this group of people walking out, a smile suddenly appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. When he selected Xiaoruo and others before, he just took one look at them and chose them, which seemed extremely childish. As for these former senior officials of Greenwater Bay town, even if they had some ability, he directly rejected them and did not hire any of them. In this way, how could these people be willing? At the same time, Chen Ronghuo has given them an hour from the time of selecting talents to now. If these people do not unite in this hour, they will be too useless. Yes, all this was intentional. He deliberately let these people unite, and then in a short time, led these people to force the palace. He planned to make Greenwater Bay town fall and then stand up, so Xiaoruo and others must take the position. If Xiaoruo and others take the position, these people will definitely be unwilling and dissatisfied. Under the unwillingness and dissatisfaction, these people can only contribute negative emotions to Greenwater town, and the quality of the power of faith he draws from him will decline. In this way, how could he keep these people? Moreover, this matter also involves several other plans of his. What do you mean, you don't accept my decision? Chen Ronghuo said in a deep voice. Lord, hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, dozens of people were all shocked. The bald middle-aged man also said hurriedly, "We don't mean to disobey your decision, but we hope that you can give us a chance, a fair competition. Besides, Zhou Yuanhua has left, and we can only be loyal to you, Lord, So we also hope that you will not let us down. At the same time, we really don't believe it. We don't believe that our talents are not as good as a waiter in a restaurant. Besides, if you, Lord, really prefer to use a waiter in a restaurant as a joke, rather than using us, I'm afraid that many people in Greenwater Baytown will be disappointed in you, Lord. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 117. After the bald middle-aged man finished speaking, Huang Lin, Ho San and others all had a cold light in their eyes. The words of the bald middle-aged man were a bit heartbreaking. What he said was clearly saying that once Chen Ronghuo doesn't use them, he will abandon the good and the good. How can a lord who abandons the good and the good lead the town of Greenwater Bay to glory in the future? They all looked at Chen Ronghuo. Let's see how Chen Ronghuo responds. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo's eyes also fell on the bald middle-aged man. This person actually has some abilities. At least you can tell from his words. At this time, the method used by this bald middle-aged man was direct admonishment. He disguised himself as a loyal minister, gave him direct advice, and then used this to achieve his own goals. Chen Ronghuo looked at the bald middle-aged man. After a moment of silence, when his forehead was slightly sweaty, he used the power of his soul to vibrate the air and said in a loud voice, "I know, many of you think that I just selected talent is a bit of a joke. So now, I will tell you the basis on which I select talents. The basis for my selection of talents is that I am a ghost and magician. The so-called ghosts and magicians are those who can communicate with ghosts and gods. Before this, the reason why I knew Zhou Yuanhua so well was because I had been driving ghosts and gods to explore Zhou Yuanhua's information." This was obviously Chen Ronghuo's panic words. But sometimes, lies can be extremely powerful. Just like Zhou Yuanhua before, he lied in Angsha town and said that if someone betrayed him, he would let Poison Shadow unseal the poison body for the second time. At that time, with just such a lie, Zhou Yuanhua asked Duing, a man who had almost lost his combat effectiveness, to suppress everyone in Angsha town. At this time, Chen Ronghuo's words made everyone's pupils shrink slightly. Ghost Warlock? Driving ghosts and gods to investigate secretly? Could it be said that Chen Ronghuo had already investigated the information about Xiaoruo and others before this? Knowing that Xiaoruo and others really have talents, why did he just let everyone walk around in front of him and select them? Thoughts flashed through the minds of everyone who heard Chen Ronghuo's words. Immediately, everyone felt slightly awe-inspiring. Who wouldn't be afraid of a person who can command ghosts and gods and secretly gather information? Chen Ronghuo saw everyone's expressions and immediately nodded imperceptibly. Before, he told Zhou Yuanhua so many secrets in front of Zhou Yuanhua. How could Zhou Yuanhua not be curious about this? How could we not want to know how he knew this? Therefore, he almost childishly selected Xiaoruo and others in front of everyone, also hoping to use this matter to introduce the concept of ghosts, gods, and warlocks. This will lead Zhou Yuanhua, and even other enemies in the future, to a wrong direction and make them have a wrong perception of themselves. Know yourself and the enemy, and you can fight 100 battles without danger. So hiding yourself is obviously an extremely important thing. At the same time, he can also use this matter to make the townspeople of Greenwater Baytown fear him even more. After introducing the concept of ghosts, gods, and warlocks, Chen Ronghuo turned his head and looked at Xiaoruo. "Xiaoruo, let me ask you, did you start getting up and reading at 3:30 this morning?" Xiaoruo was startled when he heard the words, and then he immediately bowed excitedly and said, "Your lord, what your lord said is exactly the same. And not only this morning, I get up at 3:30 every morning and read at night." Chen Ronghuo nodded. He did not identify this matter through ancient books. Instead, the details were calculated using ancient books by consuming the power of the soul. As soon as the conversation between him and Xiaoruo came out, and after hearing that he even knew such details, the people around him, in whispers, suddenly became more in awe of him. Then Chen Ronghuo's eyes turned again and fell on the bald middle-aged man. This time, sweat was clearly rolling down the forehead of the bald middle-aged man. You people do have some abilities, but your abilities are not used on the right path. I need subordinates who are loyal, who love the people like sons, and who put the development of Greenwater Bay Town first, not worms like you. Don't you yourselves know what you have done before? Or do you still need me to remind you? Originally, I had just become the Lord, and I had planned to ignore your past affairs, but you didn't know how to advance or retreat, provoking my bottom line. Lord, we know we were wrong, please forgive us. As Chen Ronghuo spoke increasingly cold words, a group of people suddenly knelt down. At this moment, they all had a bad premonition in their hearts. But at this time, Chen Ronghuo didn't even look at them. He turned his head to Ho-san and waved his hand. Ho-san, you take the people first and control these people, their families and relatives, and I will make a decision after I review them. Yes. After Ho-san got the order, he immediately led people, controlled all these people, and took them away. Looking at the group of people being taken away while crying and begging, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Since he plans to deal with these people, his family members and relatives must not let them go. Because once he is let go, most of these people will secretly hate him, which will affect the quality of the power of faith he absorbs. Of course, Chen Ronghuo would not kill these people. He would use these people, as well as those stubborn people before, as materials for his left-hand experiment, and find out some important properties of them as backup. After that, he would let these people go. Where would these people go after being released? These people were originally Zhou Yuanhua's subordinates. After being released, it is almost certain that they would go to Zhou Yuanhua. Now Zhou Yuanhua is estimated to have established a territory like him, and selected a large number of talents in Angsha town to help him manage the territory. In this way, after a while, he will let these people go, and after these people go to Zhou Yuanhua, how will Zhou Yuanhua place these people? Just think about it and you will know that once Zhou Yuanhua continues to reuse these people, his new subordinates will be disappointed. But if Zhou Yuanhua does not reuse these people, how will Zhou Yuanhua be viewed? At the same time, Chen Ronghuo can also let the news that he is a ghost magician spread, which is also a matter of killing two birds with one stone. Long live the Lord! At this time, Xiaoruo, who was beside Chen Ronghuo, suddenly knelt down and shouted, Lord, you are very perceptive and have eliminated all the termites in Greenwater Bay Town. We believe that under the leadership of Lord, Greenwater Bay Town will surely be glorious in the future. Long live Lord! As Xiaoruo spoke, a group of people knelt down. At this moment, Chen Ronghuo could clearly feel that the power of faith attracted from all directions by his Lord's statue was rapidly increasing. With the help of dealing with the bald middle-aged man and others, other people in Greenwater Bay Town will quickly return to their hearts. This is another plan of his. It can be said that this time, he has really used a small strategy to squeeze out all the value of the bald middle-aged man and others. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo moved his mind and touched the Lord's statue with his left hand, integrating the deification attribute he had obtained before into the Lord's statue. I recommend a book Super God Sensing to everyone, written by Chushabuletin Ranchan. I have read the previous works of this great man, who is really a great writer of cool articles. Thanks to book friend 2017060816305412 for the 100 coin reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 118. As the deification attribute was integrated into his Lord's statue, Chen Ronghuo immediately saw that the Lord's statue's purple light flashed slightly. Then, through his connection with the Lord's statue, he sensed the Lord's light emitted by the Lord's statue, which expanded instantly and enveloped the entire Green Water Bay town in an instant. Can the deification attribute be used like this? Chen Ronghuo was slightly startled, but then a smile appeared on his face. Originally, he wanted to expand the Lord's light of the Lord's statue to the extent that it could cover the entire Green Water Bay town, but he didn't know how long he would have to wait, and how much faith power he would have to sacrifice to the gods. But now, with the integration of this deification attribute he took out of Xuanhuan, who was Lord's statue, he could expand the Lord's light without the help of the power of the gods, and expand it to almost the same extent as the previous Xuanhuan, who a Lord's statue. Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed with a strange light. In this way, he only needs to conquer a few territories in the future, and he can save the faith power needed to expand the Lord's light. Thinking of this, he turned his head and looked at the townspeople who were kneeling on the ground and shouting at him, and slowly said, "Everyone, get up. I became the Lord of Green Water Bay in a hurry. Things are busy. In addition, many things happened today, and everyone is not used to it, so I will not hold a celebration. Wait until the right time to hold a celebration. Now it has nothing to do with you, so please withdraw first." Chen Ronghuo has never cared too much about these etiquettes. However, after a while, when he is free, and when Green Water Bay Town calms down from the shock caused by this change, he will hold a banquet and absorb more high-quality faith power amid the cheers of the townspeople. Long live the Lord! As Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, most of the townspeople, after looking at each other for a few times, retreated respectfully amid the shouts. This time, as soon as Chen Ronghuo took office as the Lord, he took down all the bald middle-aged men and others who were originally domineering in Lushwiven town, making these townspeople feel more belonging to him. At the same time, he showed his powerful means, which also made many people secretly awed. After all the strangers left, Chen Ronghuo asked someone to bring the map of Lushwiven town. Then he made a brief calculation through the ancient book and divided Lushwiven town into 50 parts on the map. "Xiaoruo, in the next 10 days, all the people in this area will be under your control. Within 10 days, you will be responsible for registering the occupations, abilities, etc. of the 200 people here. At the same time, if these people have any troubles, they will also be under your management." After the division, Chen Ronghuo pointed to the area he had divided above. "Don't worry, Lord, I will definitely complete the task." Hearing Chen Ronghuo's order, Xiaoruo immediately accepted the order. In the past, although he had great ambitions, he was looked down upon because of his weak body and lack of martial arts qualifications. He could only work as a waiter in a restaurant, and he had been holding back a grudge. This time, he was valued by Chen Ronghuo and was accepted as his subordinate. How could he not try his best to show himself? After arranging Xiaoruo, Chen Ronghuo pointed to an area in the map again and said, "Wangqi, this place, within 10 days. Su Changmao." He acted vigorously and arranged all the 50 subordinates he had just conquered in a short time. Mr. Huang. After Xiaoruo and others left after receiving the order, Chen Ronghuo looked at Huang Taizheng again and said, "Wait a minute, you will select some people from the town's guard team and go to the affiliated villages of Lushwiven town to pass on the news that I have become the Lord to them. And let all the village chiefs of these villages go to Lushwiven town to discuss matters in 10 days. Don't worry, Lord, I will let someone do this." Huang Taizheng replied immediately. Chen Ronghuo nodded, then looked at Zhu Daipen and said, "Daipen, go back to Xiaohe village later and bring back the petrified river crab I left in Xiaohe village. Also keep an eye on the whereabouts of my colorful spirit butterfly. If you can find it, bring it here as well." Zhu Daipen quickly replied in a muffled voice, "Don't worry, sir, I will definitely bring them all here." Originally, Chen Ronghuo planned to find the colorful spirit butterfly himself after the matter was over. He has a special connection with the colorful spirit butterfly and can easily find it. But after thinking about it, it is better to leave this matter to Zhu Daipen. Among his subordinates, Huang Taizheng is a second-level earth warrior, Huang Lin and Ho San have also broken through to the second level. As the lord of a territory, he is still at the peak of the first level, which is really unreasonable. In addition, Huang Lin went to the mountains dozens of miles away before and brought back a large number of flame spirit objects for him. Now that he has become the lord of Greenwater Bay Town, some important things have been handed down, and it is time to start practicing. At the same time, Zhou Yuanhua obtained the inheritance of the earth disaster, and the various abilities he showed made him envious. He really wanted to know what kind of abilities he would have once he revived the dormant natural disaster magic flame. At the same time, after the natural disaster magic flame revived, would he be able to get some feedback again and break through to the second level in one fell swoop? His current strength is too weak. If he can break through to the second level, then with the special characteristics of the Calamity Magic Flame Warlock, if he uses the Lord's statue to consume the power of faith, then in his territory, if Zhou Yuanhua dares to break in again as before, even if he does not use the power of the ancient book, he will most likely be able to fight. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo looked at the few people who followed him all the way and said, "Thank you for your help this time, I can become the Lord. In the future, I also hope that we can work together to develop and expand Greenwater Bay Town." Young Master, Huang Lin heard this and called Chen Ronghuo Young Master again, and then said, "We in Xiaohe village, all of us, can have today because of you. Without you, we may have to stay in Xiaohe village for the rest of our lives. From now on, as long as the young master gives an order, all of us will go through fire and water and die." Chen Ronghuo nodded gently. He glanced at several people and found that after this incident, Huang Tishan's loyalty to him had increased from 95 to 98. Ho San's loyalty to him also increased from 94 to 96. Huang Lin is right, Zhu Daipen also shouted at this time, "From now on, we will do whatever the young master says. I don't know anything else, but I know that following the young master, we can all eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks, but..." Just when he said this, he suddenly hesitated and said, "But young master, our territory will still be called Greenwater Bay Territory in the future. Isn't it not grand enough? I always think that the words Greenwater Bay Territory are too petty." "It is petty." Chen Ronghuo smiled when he heard it, "but petty, only by being petty can people not pay so much attention. The next period of time is our time to concentrate on development. This time we are doing something big. I am afraid it will attract the attention of many people. If we change the name to be more grand at this time, it will not be good. Of course, the name of Greenwater Bay Territory must be changed in the future." "Then what to change?" Zhu Daipen's eyes lit up instantly. Chen Ronghuo glanced at him and slowly said, "One day, when we occupy the entire White Mist Island, it will be changed to White Mist Territory. If we occupy the entire Gatuo Snake Islands, it will be changed to Gatuo Snake Territory." When Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the expressions of several people were slightly solemn. Without too many words, just from Chen Ronghuo's words, they already knew how ambitious Chen Ronghuo was. Chen Ronghuo's ambition was not even enough to satisfy the entire White Mist Island. And in this case, they are afraid that they will really have to follow Chen Ronghuo and fight all the way north and south in the future. At the same time, if it is put in the future, this scene like today is probably just child's play. At this time, Chen Ronghuo spoke again. "Next, I will be in seclusion for a while. Ho San, the people in Xiaohe village will be left to you to arrange. Thanks to Life for 1000 coins, Mingyang Chengxiao for 200 coins, and Book Friend Long Jidi for 100 coins. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 119. After everything was explained, Chen Ronghuo carried Fat Mao and the flame spirit object that Huang Lin found for him to the secret room that originally belonged to Zhou Yuanhua and began to retreat. Flame Heartstone, a ray of spiritual flame is born in the stone, which can be used to assist those with pyromancer qualifications to awaken, and can also be refined to improve their cultivation. 10-year true yang fruit, after the fruit matures, it is wrapped in a hard shell at noon every day. When the sun is the strongest, the hard shell will automatically open, allowing the true yang fruit to absorb the breath of the true yang. Earth Fire Nuan Jade, made from a ray of earth fire. After arriving in the secret room, Chen Ronghuo took out various flaming spiritual objects and placed them in front of him. At a glance, there were dozens of these flaming spiritual objects. He exhaled, slowly closed his eyes, and focused his consciousness on the sea of flame clouds in his soul. Suddenly, with the control of his mind, the sea of flame clouds suddenly shrank, forming a strange suction force while rotating slightly. This strange suction force instantly passed through his soul sea and emanated along the center of his eyebrows, enveloping dozens of flaming spiritual objects in front of him. In an instant, wisps of different flame spiritual energy were drawn out from those flame spiritual objects, like tiny fiery red rivers. Finally, it gathered between Chen Ronghuo's eyebrows. Then when his eyebrows were slightly warm, it entered his soul sea and flowed into the sea of flame clouds. Call. When these flame auras merged into the flame cloud sea in Chen Ronghuo's soul sea, a wisp of black light suddenly jumped at the core of the flame cloud sea. Have you heard that Green Water Bay Town has changed its lord? The original Lord Zhou Yuanhua raided Angsha Town and became the Lord of Angsha Town. The new Lord of Lushwiven Town is now a man named Chen Ronghuo. While Chen Ronghuo was in retreat, Huang Taizhong quickly followed Chen Ronghuo's instructions and sent people to notify all the villages affiliated with Lushwiven Town that Chen Ronghuo had become the new Lord of Lushwiven Town. More than a dozen villages were extremely shocked after receiving the news. I've also heard that Chen Ronghuo suddenly appeared in Xiahe village 2 months ago. No one thought that he was so powerful and dared to take advantage of Zhou Yuanhua's raid on Angsha Town to occupy Lushwiven Town. Moreover, I seem to have heard that Zhou Yuanhua later returned to Lushwiven Town and fought a battle with Chen Ronghuo, but returned without success. I feel like the people in Xiahe village are the lucky ones. It seems that their entire village has moved to Green Water Bay Town. I really don't know when we will have such an opportunity, and when the whole village will move into the town. With our strength, we still want to move to the town? Just wait, in 10 days, the new lord will summon the village chiefs of all nearby villages to discuss matters in the town. I don't know what the new lord will say or what decision he will make when the time comes. But I really hope that he will not impose excessive taxes and tax us again, otherwise we will really not be able to survive this day. In just one day, the news about Chen Ronghuo spread like wildfire in the nearby area. Green Water Bay Town has a new lord, which is definitely a big event for the surrounding villages. But no one knows whether their future will get better or worse after Chen Ronghuo becomes the new lord of Lushwiven Town. At the same time, in the evening when Chen Ronghuo was in retreat, Zhu Deipen hurried back from outside. After returning to the lord's mansion, when he saw Li Haishui, he shouted, "Li Hizi, hasn't the lord come out of seclusion yet?" Get out of seclusion? The lord spent 3 days in seclusion last time. Do you think he can get out of seclusion so quickly after he solemnly explained a lot of things this time? Li Haishui glanced sideways at Zhu Deipen, despising Zhu Deipen's IQ. Then what should we do? When Zhu Deipen heard this, he had no intention of arguing with Li Haishui. Instead, he looked extremely troubled, as if he was worried about something. What should I do? Li Haishui frowned. By the way, didn't the Lord tell you to go back to Xiahe village and bring back his river crab and colorful spiritual butterflies? Why are you back so soon? Where is the colorful spiritual butterfly? What about the river crab that eats dirt? As Li Haishui asked one sentence after another, Zhu Deipen's face became even more tangled as he said, I didn't find the colorful spiritual butterfly. I ran for most of the day and couldn't find its shadow. Not found, Li Haishui stared, you can't find the colorful butterfly. Can't you even find the river crab that walks slower than a turtle? I found that river crab, but I can't bring it back. Zhu Deipen sighed. Why can't you bring it back? Li Haishui was unhappy because Zhu Deipen's words were too appetizing. Zhu Deipen shook his head and said, you haven't seen that, for some reason, that river crab has grown 10 times bigger. And as soon as it saw me, it asked me if I was looking for a trap. And its two large pincers, one black and one white, can also spray out black and white mist. I feel like it has been upgraded to a monster. Promoted to a demon, Li Haishui was a little surprised, but he continued, so what if you are promoted to a demon? You are already at the peak of the warrior realm. Even if that river crab is promoted to a demon, it should only be an early stage demon of the first level. Are you not its opponent yet? Besides, it originally only weighed about 100 kilograms. Even if it became 10 times larger, it would probably only weigh 1,000 kilograms. With your strength, if you put in a little more effort, can you carry it back? What 1,000 pounds, Zhu Deipen said speechlessly, when I say it has become 10 times larger, it is not that its weight has become 10 times larger, nor that its volume has become 10 times larger, but that its length, width, and height have all become larger. 10 times more. Puff. Li Haishui spit out a mouthful of old blood. In a hurry, he said angrily, the length, width, and height are 10 times bigger? You call that 10 times bigger, but it is obviously 100 times bigger, okay. Did you learn your math from a dog? I said 10 times is 10 times. Don't worry about 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 again and you get 1,000. Just tell me what to do now. Zhu Deipen waved his hand and said, now that river crab has become bigger than a house, they are all big. With my strength, if I get close, I think that guy can hit them one by one. I don't want to die young. Also, the black and white mist that the guy spit out was getting more and would not disperse. When I came back, the mist covered half of the village. It is estimated that it is not impossible for the fog to cover the entire village now. Li Haishui also became serious at this time. He shook his head and said, now that the Lord is in seclusion, there is no use in asking me about this matter. My strength is about the same as yours. That river crab has undergone such a big change. I think only Xuanhuan and Ho San can do something about it now. One chapter will be updated first, there will be 5 chapters guaranteed today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 120. Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan can't do it. The Lord is in seclusion. Xuanhuan has to guard the territory and the statue of the Lord. He must not leave the territory. Zhu Deipen frowned and said, it seems that I can only try to find Ho San. At this time, the territory had just been established, and Ho San was definitely busy. It's just that Zhu Deipen really has no other choice. If the river crab is not dealt with, once it is discovered that it is making such a big noise, it will most likely attract someone's attention, which will cause trouble. He hurriedly said goodbye to Li Haishui and prepared to find Ho San for help. See if Ho San can help him drag the crab to Green Water Baytown. In Chen Ronghuo's secret room, Chen Ronghuo knew nothing about any of this. Dozens of fire spiritual objects contain so much fire spirit that with his strength, he cannot absorb them all in a short time. His brows were condensed, and wisps of flame spiritual energy gathered into a river, rushing out from his brows into the sea of his soul. As more and more flame spiritual energy rushed into his soul sea, the sea of flame clouds slowly rotated, revealing more black. It was a heart-stopping black. At a glance. Just give people a kind of. It feels like a big disaster is coming. Chen Ronghuo was immersed in practice, feeling that the black natural disaster attributes coming out of the sea of flame clouds were getting stronger and stronger, and the expectations in his heart were getting stronger and stronger. Time passes. Around midnight, Zhu Deipen hurried back to the territory. What's wrong? Ho-san can't even go there. Also, what about Ho-san? Why didn't Ho-san come back with you? Seeing Zhu Deipen in a hurry, Xuanhuan, who was practicing and keeping vigil beside the square of the Lord's mansion, frowned and asked. He already knew what happened from Li Haishui. Xuanhuan, what should I do now? Ho-san is trapped in Xiahe village. Zhu Deipen clapped his thighs, with a look of distress on his face. The task assigned to him by Chen Ronghuo was originally a very simple matter. But now, he felt like he was getting worse. What's going on? Tell me carefully. Isn't even Ho-san a match for that river crab? Xuanhuan narrowed his eyes. Although Ho-san has just made a breakthrough and has not cultivated any secret techniques suitable for him, Ho-san's fighting instinct and Ho-san's Earth War Ape bloodline alone are not something that ordinary second-level practitioners can deal with. He couldn't believe what kind of fortune that river crab had gained in just one day, and even Ho-san was able to stay. That river crab is extremely powerful, and its body is like a stone. Ho-san can't do anything to it if he hits it. If that's the case, Ho-san can come back even if he can't deal with it. After all, in terms of speed, Ho-san's speed much more than that. But just when Ho-san was about to come back, the black and white mist that the crab sprayed out from its two large pincers suddenly increased. The fog is similar to the fog we encountered in the Misty Valley before, and it seems to have the ability to make people get lost. Then I saw Ho-san on the back mountain in the fog, going this way and then that way. After listening to Zhu Deipen's narration, Xuanhuan was stunned. He glanced at Zhu Deipen and said strangely, "You saw it in the back mountain, and you didn't go in with Ho-san. That river crab is so big, and Ho-san is also an earth warrior. How dare I get close?" Zhu Deipen said matter-of-factly, "If I get close, it will probably be just the aftermath of their battle, and my bones and tendons will be broken." After hearing what Zhu Deipen said, Xuanhuan shook his head and did not dwell on it. Just following, he frowned suddenly when he thought that the river crab had become so powerful that even Ho-san could be trapped in it. Now Chen Ronghuo is in seclusion. He wants to stay here to protect the Lord's statue, and at the same time he has to protect Chen Ronghuo. He must not leave. But Ho-san was trapped in Xiahe village. Once the activities in Xiahe village were discovered by others, especially if Zhou Yuanhua discovered it, he would be in big trouble. After thinking for a while, Xuanhuan said in a deep voice, "You go to my father now and ask him to go to Xiahe village with you. But this time you must remember that after arriving at Xiahe village, you all stayed in the back mountain to check the situation. As long as Ho-san doesn't have an accident in the fog, no one of you can go in. Also, remember to bring a few more people with you this time and keep in touch with me at any time. If there is any unexpected situation, please inform me. Also, you must pay attention to confidentiality. No matter who else discovers the changes in Xiahe village, they must control it and not let the news spread." Zhu Deipen gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, then I'll do as you say." Xuanhuan watched Zhu Deipen leave quickly and took a deep breath. There are still too few strong people in Lushuivan town now. It was okay when Chen Ronghuo was there. If there were any problems, there were solutions. Now that Chen Ronghuo is in seclusion, he has to guard his territory, but just a river crab has made them stretched. Xuanhuan just thought about it. There were fewer earth warriors in Greenwater Bay Town before, and sometimes they were even worse than them. Is it so easy to have more earth warrior level combat power? Time passes day by day. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. News comes from time to time in Xiahe village. 7 days later, Ho-san still couldn't get out of the mist. Ho-san was a second-level blood sorcerer, and it was okay to not eat or drink for 7 days. But during these 7 days, the big river crab would occasionally fight with Ho-san. After such a long time, even if Ho-san could continue to hold on, he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. The only good news was that although the battle between second-level practitioners was loud, the mist released by the river crab seemed to be able to prevent the sound from spreading, so it didn't make much noise. Xuanhuan stood in front of Chen Ronghuo's lord statue and looked at Chen Ronghuo's retreat. He didn't know when Chen Ronghuo would be able to come out. At this time, even he became anxious. In Chen Ronghuo's secret room, 7 days had passed, and the flame spirit energy in the dozens of flame spirit objects placed in front of Chen Ronghuo had been completely absorbed by him. After absorbing so much flame spirit, the flame cloud in his soul sea has completely turned into a black and red color that is heart-pounding and full of demonic meaning. At a certain moment, Chen Ronghuo exhaled a long breath. But this breath also showed a bit of black and red color. After it came out of his mouth, it actually burned the air and made a sizzling sound. After such a long time, the natural disaster devil flame that had been dormant for a long time finally revived. At the same time, when the natural disaster devil flame revived, a large amount of mysterious power suddenly emerged from its interior and fed back to Chen Ronghuo's soul. With this feedback, when Chen Ronghuo opened his eyes slightly, everything in the whole room was suspended in an instant. Since then, he has finally become a second-level cultivator. Thanks to Hualuo Xiaowei Liang and book friend who defines it as contradictory, I can only pretend to be merciful for the 100 coin reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 121. Buzz. Suddenly, when Chen Ronghuo's soul power advanced to the second level, the ancient book located in his soul sea, but also in a special layer of his soul sea, suddenly shook, and a vast breath emanated from it. Immediately afterwards, Chen Ronghuo found that his consciousness, under the guidance of the vast breath, came to a special space. This space was a chaos. In the center of the chaos, there was a green sacred tree, standing still. The sacred tree was lush and leafy. The leaves, in the rustling sound, seemed to be like a book, flashing countless knowledge and countless information. Under the green sacred tree, there was a green pool. The pool was not big. There was not much water in it, only a small layer. But if you look closely, you can find that the water in the pool is slowly accumulating. At the same time, a series of messages emerged in Chen Ronghuo's consciousness. He looked at the green pool and gradually realized that this pool was the source of power of the ancient book. As his cultivation level improves, the power source of the ancient book will become larger and larger. At the same time, the speed of accumulating power will become faster and faster. And the green sacred tree is the root of the original omniscient divine book. The leaves on it represent the profound knowledge of the omniscient divine book. Then Chen Ronghuo looked around again, and suddenly saw that there were 9 white pillars standing around this space. 8 of the white pillars were hazy, and it was hard to see what was inside. But when Chen Ronghuo looked at one of the pillars, another message flashed on it. Through this message, he immediately knew that this pillar was the seal page that sealed Zhou Yuanhua's claw power. At the same time, the other 8 pillars represent the other 8 seal pages of the sealed book. The sealed book has a total of 9 pages. One of the pages had been opened with the help of the spirit of the omniscient book when he came to this world. At that time, a mysterious purple noble power was released from that page. It was with that power and the blessing of the gods that he was able to obtain the power of his left hand. At this time, as his cultivation level broke through to the second level, he looked at it and saw that the other pillar next to the pillar that sealed Zhou Yuanhua's claw power was shaking slightly. And this vibration was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that something was about to rush out of it. At the same time, there were still messages rushing into Chen Ronghuo's consciousness. This made him know that from now on, every time he broke through a major realm, such as from the first level to the second level, and from the second level to the third level, the sealed page of the ancient book would be able to open a new page. And in each sealed page of the ancient book, something was sealed. But he didn't know what it was. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked at the shaking pillar with expectation in his heart. The last time the seal page of the ancient book was opened, he gained a huge benefit and gained the power of his left hand. What will he gain this time? Pop! Just as he was thinking this, after a slight sound, the hazy light on the pillar suddenly faded, revealing a faint green smoke. When this green smoke appeared, Chen Ronghuo's heart jumped. But when he knew what this thing was through the messages, he smiled bitterly in excitement. Dustless state of mind. This is a state of mind of a peerless strong man who was once sealed by the seal book. This state of mind can be integrated into the hearts of matching people. People who integrate into this state of mind will only have one or two obsessions in their hearts. All other distracting thoughts will disappear, and they will become ruthless and sexless, and become pure and desireless. But after integrating into the dustless state of mind, their cultivation speed will also advance by leaps and bounds. In addition, people who match the state of mind are generally those who have experienced all kinds of worldly trials and have great enlightenment. Pure mind and few desires? Enlightenment. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. For this state of mind, he would not integrate into it even if he did not meet the conditions. Otherwise, after integrating into the state of mind, his mind would become pure and few desires. What's the point? He kept thinking about how to use the dustless state of mind he got this time, so as not to waste it and to maximize its effect. This thing must be given to his subordinates. But after giving it to his subordinates, will they become pure and few desires and still listen to him? Chen Ronghuo shook his head. But in a flash of thought, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration in his mind, and suddenly thought of the 3 words sweeping monk. Using this dustless state of mind, he might be able to create a character similar to the sweeping monk. At that time, he would not need him to do too much, just need him to clean the square next to his Lord's statue every day and guard the Lord's statue for him. Thinking of this, a light suddenly emerged in his eyes again. As for how to find such a person who can match the dustless mind, it is naturally through the deduction ability of the ancient book. Swish, swish, swish. Just as Chen Ronghuo's mind was full of thoughts, he suddenly looked up and saw that thousands of golden stars appeared above his head, or above the internal space of the ancient book. However, it is also possible that these golden stars originally existed, but he just didn't notice them. The stars were flying very fast, one after another, like a meteor shower. Whoosh! Just as Chen Ronghuo looked up and stared at the stars, he suddenly saw one of the golden stars, which seemed to be pulled by some strange force during its flight, and with a whoosh, it smashed towards the thin film above the ancient book. He was terrified, not knowing what would happen after the smash. But the golden meteor was too fast, and before he could react, it had already smashed into the ancient book. As the golden meteor smashed, waves of ripples suddenly spread from the thin film of the ancient book. Then Chen Ronghuo actually saw that the golden star turned into a pool of water and merged into the thin film of the ancient book. Boom! As the golden star melted, pictures suddenly appeared in his mind. And a lot of information. In the picture, the sky was clear. An island with a little white fog and an island with a little black fog, sitting quietly in the sea. On these 2 islands, there are a large number of humans and other lives. On this day, there were 7 or 8 places on each of the 2 islands, and a wisp of black and white fog emerged. These fogs are extremely magical. The lives that get these fogs will increase their strength in a short period of time and gain various abilities. Chen Ronghuo felt puzzled and didn't know what was going on. But suddenly, he actually saw a familiar place in these pictures. Or, it's a familiar place, a familiar thing. Some card, but there will definitely be 3 more tonight. Thank you to Xuan for the 500 coin reward, and the book friend Xianyi Shalayi Gan and the book friend 201808240129493661 for the 100 coin reward.